you win, some you lose. This was a loss. Here it is, my Titanic. Terrible. Now the concept was good. The concept was to have the Titanic broken in half with the front 2/3 of the ship actually going down and the last third of the ship actually beginning to sink, and the old iceberg down here. Now, it's terrible. What did I do wrong? Well, several things. First, how did the Titanic actually sink? Well, she got a huge gash of the ship from the iceberg. And what did I do? I completely forget to put the gash in. You know, how on earth can the Titanic sink if she didn't have a hole? I was able to cut it using my drill master. That actually worked out pretty good. No problem there. And as you can see, I actually did paint her the correct colors according to the research and the photographs I've seen on Google, which are the black tips on the funnel, the tan or gold funnels, the white superstructure, the black, and then the red in the plimsoll line at the bottom. So the colors were basically correct so far as the research showed. But you can see what went wrong, can't you? We've got two different types of resin, and that's the problem. Now the first type of resin, plus I also made a huge mistake. See that? Yeah, we'll come to that one in a minute. Oh. So I made a block like this, and I put two sheets of polycarbonate either side and held those in. Now that in fact wasn't a bad plan. Worked fine. And when you put in blocks like this, you cover them with tape, good old tape, so that it doesn't stick. And this came off perfect on the bottom. It came off perfect on this side, and on this side I forgot to put it on the tape side, didn't I? I put it on the wood side. It's like, okay, and have another cup of tea, right? So it wouldn't come off because the block was on the raw wood, and resin sticks to raw wood better than super glue to your fingers if you put them together. I actually had to cut it off with a fret saw. Now, yeah, in theory I could actually try and... The resin was terrible. Now, the first resin I used was fairly good. It was this stuff. This is Creative A and B. No problem with that stuff at all. Made a nice blue resin down here, see-through, etc. No problem there at all. I notice there's a bit of dirt on there, but it's see-through. The problem came from using the other two sets of resin. Let me get it over here. Here it is. It's called Pour On. Now there's a little hint here. Pour On doesn't say cast on. And you've got cast in resin and you've got pour on resin. This is to pour on a flat surface. Now I've looked at a lot of the reviews on Amazon, and you're going to see a lot of issues with Amazon with bubbles and heat. One guy said his everything went up in smoke. So I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. I don't know. But bubbles was the big issue. I also found it didn't pour properly. I got a huge hole in there, and this casting was bad, and it's just solid of bubbles. I mean, literally solid full of miniature bubbles. You know, it's like fizzy soda that you've shaken up and down. So you can't see a thing. So it's really terrible. And again, this is not for pouring, and this is not for casting. This is for pour on. Now the other thing, when you read the instructions, which I did, you have to do exactly 50-50, which I did. I used my gram measuring scale, so you've got to have some of those. They're about $5 or $6, and it's a two-stage pour. I did read the instructions, and it's a two-stage pour. So you've got to put the 50-50 mix into your mixing container, stir it for 2 minutes, and then pour it into a second container, pour it for a second minute, and yes, I did that. Same result. Doesn't matter, same result. Now when I started to mix it in bucket 1, container 1, it turned very silvery. You couldn't see through it at all. Very opaque. You know, you couldn't see through it, and then the bubbles started to form, and bigger bubbles, and lots of little bubbles, and it was just bubble heaven, and it was crazy. And the bubbles never came out. So this is not stuff I'm ever going to be using again. That gets the deep 6. In fact, the rest of that is going to be put in the garbage. You can see a lot of the bubbles up here. It just thrusts way at the top. It thrusts so much you can't see anything down here in the middle. It's a bad pour. And the other thing that really kind of got me concerned was the fact that the heat. I mean, it was so hot. I could barely touch it. I was going to get burned if I touch it. And this is like, you know, 3/4 of an inch wide or an inch wide. It's not a big pour, but it's not a pour on. It's not meant to be replacing, you know, 4 or 5 layers of varnish. This is a cast. And if it's not for casting, then you don't want to be using this stuff. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's okay for pouring, because I've seen some other reviews up there that say bubbles are a big problem. So, what I'm telling you is this is not suitable for casting, because you're going to get these bubbles, you're going to get the heat. And within 30 minutes, it was so thick, I couldn't put my iceberg, and I was going to put the iceberg and drop it halfway through, so you could see the iceberg menacingly just above the ship. Couldn't do that. Within 30 minutes, it had gone so rock hard, I couldn't do anything. So, and then with this bit here, where is it? This one, which is again totally my fault, put on the side here, on the side of the raw wood. The only way I could get it off was, I tried hammering it off, I tried to chisel, I had to just cut it off with a fret saw. That was the only way I could get that off, instead of putting it on where the side of the tape was. Not going to make that mistake again. Now that was down to me. Bubbles are not down to me. I followed the instructions precisely, and it's just nothing but bubbles in this resin. The model came okay, no problem there. It's a $12 model, so I'm probably going to buy it and try and do this one again. I want to make sure I use resin that doesn't have a bubble problem. So I might try that one, and that does have some good reviews. It is for casting, so if you're going to cast anything, make sure you buy resin suitable for casting, not resin that simply says pour on. It's obviously a different resin, and always read the Amazon reviews. I got this stuff from Hobby Lobby, so not from Amazon, so I couldn't read any reviews. But there it is. You win some, you lose some. This is going to be a testament to my failure. I'm going to redo this again. I'm going to buy the Titanic again, redo it. I'm going to make sure I remember to actually get the gash in the front down here the next time around. And I'm going to use one resin, which is bubble free, and we're going to see how it comes out. I'm going to make sure next time I make sure I have the tape side on the resin, so we don't get it sticking. There we go. Hope you like that video on what not to do in the future, and it's going to be a little while. I will make another one later on, and I will compare it to this garbage. I'm going to keep this one in my lower shelf where the failures are. And don't forget, it's not really a failure, it's what I call a learning opportunity. Every time you don't do something, or you do it wrong, or it doesn't come out right, you learn. And that's what I've done here, as I've learned by my mistakes, and hopefully the next one is going to be better. Have a great day. Talk to you guys soon.